Más preámbulos, démosle por favor una cálida bienvenida al director Hércules y por supuesto a nuestro amigo semidios Hércules, interpretado por el señor Dwayne Johnson. Hola, Fred, bienvenido a México.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Yo hablo español perfecto.
¡Bravo! Eso.
Bienvenidos a México. Nos gustaría que nos compartieran, por favor, qué fue lo que les llamó la atención a los dos para realizar esta película basada en las historietas de Hércules y las tierras de paz.
I'll say that since I was a little boy, cuando tiene un niño, escriben, how do you say books?
Libros.
Libros de comic books. Y escribe un comic book de Hércules versus Superman cuando tiene 6 años. So in mi vida, I was always thinking about, en mi vida siempre dreaming about doing a movie like Hércules, a sword and sandal movie, because I grew up watching the movies like Spartacus, okay, Ben-Hur, you know, all the great kind of period movies. And then I heard that MGM Studios was making a Hércules movie based on a graphic novel. I read it and I loved it. And I got a call that Mr. Johnson wanted to meet me. He comes over my house, he sits there, he looks me in the eyes, and he says, Brett, I was born to play Hércules. When Dwayne Johnson says I was born to play Hércules, you believe him. And then you, when you first came to Hollywood, right?
I did, yes. You know, I have been so inspired by the mythology of Hércules ever since I was a little kid. So like Brett, when we were 5, 6 years old, we were always inspired by Hércules and the power of Hércules, breaking the chains, and the mythology of Hércules. So my love and my inspiration of Hércules has many, many years. So when
It came from Steve Reeves, right?
It came from the original Hércules, which was Steve Reeves. It was the very first poster I saw when I was a kid of Steve Reeves breaking the chains and becoming Hércules, and it was titled "I Am Hércules," and it was just such an iconic poster. So when I first got to Hollywood 15 years ago, Hércules was the very first project that I brought up to studio executives, because you know, when you make your rounds with studio executives in Hollywood, they say, "Oh, well, what movie do you want to make?" And I said, "Well, what about Hércules? It hasn't been done in a long time."
I'm sorry, are you interpreting this?
No, they have.
Oh, it's automatic. Perfect. Okay.
Thank you. My Spanish is muy poquito. So when I first got to Hollywood, I asked about Hércules, and at that time I didn't have any clout, I didn't have the juice to make it happen. Years later, I find out that they are making a Hércules, and they came to me with the idea of making a Hércules with Brett as a director. I went to Brett's house, and I did. I spoke from the heart. I said, I believe that I was born to play this role. I believe it in my heart. I believe it in my bones that I was born to play this role. Brett looked me in the eye and said, if we partner up on this movie, I guarantee, I give you my word, we will make something that is iconic, and we will make something that is going to be definitive for our generation.
And I believe Dwayne Johnson is this generation's Hércules. He defines Hércules for this generation. For him, it was Steve Reeves. For me, even though Schwarzenegger did Hércules movies, he was just, the strong man of my generation. So for young people today, Dwayne Johnson is the definitive Hércules. So, bravo.
Thank you.
Bien, comenzamos con las preguntas de la prensa. Por favor, la revista Cine Más, Raúl Ortiz Sánchez.
Muchas gracias, bienvenido a México. Y mi pregunta para el señor Johnson, hay otros elementos para hacer Hércules, hay series, hay películas, hay libros. ¿Tomaste alguno de estos pues sí, algunas de estas referencias para interpretar a Hércules. ¿Y cuál sería el sello personal que le dejarías tú como señor Johnson a Hércules? Muchas gracias.
Well, you know, as we know, Hercules has been around for a very long time, over the decades. There's been comic books, there's been movies, there's been TV shows, there's been action figures. So the mythology of Hercules has been around for a long time, which then lent itself to the challenge that we had making this movie. How are we going to make a version of Hercules that was different? How were we going to make a version of Hercules that was going to stand out from the rest? And what we wanted to do was base our movie off a very well-written graphic novel that was cool, it was dark, and it had an interesting story in terms of taking the mythology and deconstructing it, flipping the myth. And what I mean by that is, what if Hercules wasn't a god? What if he was a man? What if he was a man first, who had a family, but yet he had a heart of gold, and he had a steel resolve like no one else. So there's certain parts of the mythology that we take and we deconstruct it, we change it to make it different, and hopefully make it definitive. And in terms of what I was able to bring to the role, I think the number one thing that I wanted to make sure that we got across in the role, that I was able to bring to the role of Hercules, and that hopefully we were going to be able to do this together in terms of bringing to the overall story, was the power of believing in yourself, and how important that is, because you have a mythology that's been around forever. Greek mythology, you have the story of Hercules that's been around forever. But the most important thing about this is the power of believing in yourself, and how powerful that can be, and being comfortable with who you are.
And I have to say, what Dwayne brought to it, really, in my opinion, is an incredible amount of gravitas and levity. And why he's able to bring this is because he's one of the rare actors, and why he's such a big movie star is because he's fearless when it comes to showing vulnerability. For me, the actors who are not afraid to show vulnerability, especially a character like Hercules, right? The strongest man in the world, but he was fine with letting his hair down, and showing the vulnerability and showing emotion, and on top of that, bringing humor. That's what's different between this movie and every other Hercules movie. Every other Hercules movie and every other movie that's in the genre is serious, is dramatic. We have the seriousness, we have the drama, but we also have the humor and the fun. And that's what makes this movie different than any other movie that's made in the genre.
We have the fun. Fun.
Queremos pedirles por favor que eviten tomar fotografías porque se mete el audio a los compañeros que están grabando el audio de la conferencia. Seguimos por favor con José Manuel Viniegra de La Grilla.
¿Tuvieron miedo en algún momento cuando intentaron bajar la figura de Hércules, un semidios, a un plano más humano? ¿Y cuál fue el mayor reto para cada uno de ustedes?
Yeah, no, I think that's what attracted us to the story. It showed the humanity. Every other movie was driven by the visual effects, driven by the spectacle, driven by the fact that the mythology and the fact that he's fighting monsters and that he's half man, half God. This grounded the story. This allowed us to make something that was grounded, that was real, and then it informed us, and we were able to build an incredible. Did you guys see the trailers and stuff? The biggest sets you've ever seen built. Even when we walked on the first day, we were like, oh my God. Because, most of these movies are made in a room like this, all green screen. And everything is added in afterwards. Because of the story that we focused on, which is demystifying the myth, grounding the man, we were able to create these sets and these environments that were practical, where not only Dwayne, but all the ensemble, all the actors can walk on set and they felt like they were transported to 358 BC. We took them there because of the design. And I think both of us were attracted to the story because of that fact.
Right, and I think when you, as actors, when you come onto a set that's very practical, and some of our sets were literally the size of a soccer stadium. Massive sets. So automatically, as Brett was saying, it informs you as an actor in terms of the meat of the story. And it's very, very grounded. And I want to say that, like Brett was saying, when you have a story that's been around for some time, and there's been other movies made on Hercules. Hercules just came out in January, by the way, where it was about the monsters and the mythology. It was something very intriguing and interesting about, again, well, what if is Hercules the son of Zeus? Possibly. Is he a man? Absolutely. Who lives, breathes, bleeds, and cuts, and is in pain too as well, loses his family. So there are a lot of different elements that made it very, very intriguing.
And the thing that he said earlier, which I love, is that Dwayne brought the humanity to it because he helped with the messaging of finding the hero in yourself, finding the belief in yourself. Everybody, that relates to everybody. Everybody wants to find the greatness in yourself and find that belief in order to succeed. And he epitomizes that character, where you're rooting for him and you want him to win. And that's the movie that we're trying to make.
Bien, ahora Arturo Tobar de NPN Research, por favor.
Hi, welcome to Mexico. Okay, you said that Dwayne came to you and said, I'm Hercules.
We want it in Spanish. You know, just, oh my God. I'm kidding.
Sure. Well, he came to you and said, I'm Hercules. What else would you ask for me? This is what I want, this is what I need. And through your preparation as Hercules, when was it the time that you said, okay, this is the Hercules I'm going to play, this is the right here?
Well, let me start it and then I'll let him finish it, because I think both of us, because of our age, we're very close in age. He's much older than me, of course. And
29.
Because of our age, we grew up loving the concept of the strong man. For me, it went back to Superman, then Hercules, then of course Schwarzenegger, and all these characters. And I was a big fan of wrestling as well. Growing up watching Dusty Rhodes, The American Dream, and all these big, Andre the Giant. These guys. When you're a little boy, you look up to them. So for me, just the idea of a Hercules movie was the coolest thing in the world to do. But I couldn't find the actual story that I wanted to do, because if you think about it, and if you look back in history, as he said, there was 40 different versions of this movie, but they were all very similar. There were television shows, there were toys, everybody thinks they know the myth. We wanted to tell another version of the story. And I'll tell you a really quick, funny anecdote, that after he sat there and said, looked me in the eye, and said, Brett, I was born to play this role. He then said on his way out, and by the way, I'm going to be working out really hard to get big for this part. And I said, Dwayne, I think, and he was just coming off a great movie that he did called Pain and Gain with Michael Bay. What are these muscle scrums? His traps were up to his ears in that moment. And I'm like, you're going to get bigger than that? But what he did was, before my eyes, and I've never seen an actor so devoted to a character, he transformed his body from being the weightlifter guy, the bodybuilder guy that was in Pain and Gain, to the mighty Hercules. So he can go through the details of it, but he literally transformed his body, and his dedication to the character was unprecedented. I never worked with an actor, I'm not just saying this because he's here, that was so devoted. He was awake 4 hours before I was even awake, and committed to eating his diet and working out 2 times maybe before I even woke up. So his commitment to this, and I'll just tell you the one moment that I saw the transition, because every actor, you have your own interpretation. He's been dreaming about it a long time, but you're not sure exactly maybe, but he came so prepared. But the moment that I saw it was when we had our first fitting in London, and I saw him, and he put on the lion's head, and he put on the loincloth, and he had the club in his hand, and then they put the beard on, and he sat there, and he was in the mirror, and I just saw a thing come over his eyes, and I saw him make a transition, and I didn't see The Rock anymore. I didn't see Dwayne Johnson. I literally got chills because I saw Hercules. And then he found the voice, and each thing after, fell into place. So, he could talk about this.
And as Brett was saying, there's been so many versions of Hercules. So when we were going to partner up to make this movie, I knew I had one shot. We get one opportunity to create something special. So I wanted to transform my body into a version that looked very survived and scarred and at times bloody.
Like a warrior.
Like a warrior, like Hercules was. My interpretation of Hercules was that. And also too, I wanted to transform into a man that people had never seen before. That people would have to do a double take. Like, is that who I think it is? With the beard and the hair. So with that commitment came a diet that was a 6-month training regimen where it was very intense diet. The training schedule was twice a day. As Brett was saying, I would wake up around 3:30, 4 o'clock every morning, and I would do my first workout, then I would eat breakfast, and I would do my second workout. And then I would go to set and sit in hair and makeup, for beard and hair, scars, for 4 hours every day.
Hair and makeup, 4 hours.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. Amazing.
Yeah, me too. So it was a very long process, but again, it's all done with the spirit of hopefully you want to create something different, and you want people to watch the movie, to be intrigued by it, attracted to it, and then once they see it, we want them to be entertained, and we want them to leave the theater thinking, that was a hell of a movie, thank you.
Vamos con Berenice Villatoro, por favor, de CineNT.com.
Hola, bienvenidos a México. Mi primera pregunta es con respecto precisamente a México, ¿no? Yo sé que no es la primera vez que vienes. ¿Nos podrías hablar un poquito de tu opinión acerca de la Ciudad de México? Y la segunda pregunta es para los dos. ¿Me podrían contar cuál es su secuencia o escena favorita en la película?
The first one about Mexico.
Yes. So, I love Mexico. I love coming back to Mexico. It's always probably I was trying to count this morning how many times I've been back here. I think it's somewhere, maybe 8 times, I think, over the years. Yeah, a long time.
For work or for vacation?
No, for everything.
Okay.
But I do. I really enjoy coming to Mexico. But here's the reason why. I just feel that every time I come, the welcoming is so warm. And it's so, and the warmth is always so inspiring. And I've lived in Miami since I was 18 years old, and the Latin influence in Miami is very strong. And I feel like every time I come here to Mexico, I feel like I'm at home, and it's so nice. I love coming back here, and there's no greater tequila in the world. Here in Mexico, I appreciate that. And what was the other question?
The other question was about
your favorite scene.
the favorite scene. Well, I'll just to say one thing about Mexico is that the amazing part of it is a country of maybe 100 million people, but the movie fans, the fans of cinema, are abundant. And that's why we come here to support it, because we want to give back to the people who love the cinema, who love movies, and we love supporting them, and that's why we want to come here, because it's a fantastic country, of course, great food, beautiful women, beautiful culture, incredible history. But most of all is the love of movies that the Mexican people love. And we're here to support that. My favorite scene in the movie is the battle scene, the first battle scene in the movie, because it was probably the hardest scene I'd ever shot in my life. We spent weeks and weeks and weeks. We had maybe a day, 2,000 people on set of the day. It was a huge challenge for everyone involved. And from the crew, we had hundreds of crew members, hair and makeup people, hundreds of hair and makeup people to dress. It's the guys with the green, with the bald guys in the battle. So very, very challenging, and very proud of the way it came out, and love the scene.
I would have to, and I love that scene too, by the way. We probably 3-4 weeks it took to shoot that scene. My favorite scene in the movie would have to be when Hercules finally embraces and accepts his fate of who he was born to be. And he's chained up to the pillars, and he breaks the chains by screaming, "I am Hercules, and it's an iconic moment in the mythology. It's an iconic moment in our movie. And we all felt in making the movie, we were going to be able to, if we did the scene right, and we captured the spirit of that scene, then it's going to be an emotional scene for people. We wanted people to all feel that in that moment. And because we all have those moments where in life we feel like we're chained up sometimes. Yeah, and beaten down, but we also have the spirit to get back up and scream, I am Hercules. So I was very happy about that and what we were able to accomplish with that scene. Plus, I think I look pretty good in the loincloth.
Bien, interrumpiendo del programa hoy.
What is that case there? Is that bulletproof? What's happening? What are these two girls? Oh, I see. That's the booth. Okay, I'm sorry. Very cool. I like that.
Yes, hi. The first thing that I want to say is like you see, hi, how are you? Wayne is the hero, is the icon here. It's for the young people, and for me, consider young people. And I followed all the motivation videos because you usually work out. And I didn't have 7 bucks in my pocket, but I got 20 euros because I come from Spain. When I realized that if you work out hard, you can change your body and you can choose your destiny, right? So when I knew about this movie, I started to follow the diet, your diet, your Hercules diet, your exercise. Yes. And I have to tell you something because I did all exercise, but one of them is not working. I don't know why, but I don't know if you hold like this. It's the big pop of love, right? Can you show to the Mexican people how to do it?
Well, I have a jacket on. That's the thing. But what happens is when you have pecs as big as mine, it kind of comes through the jacket. But hey, I'm happy you followed the diet. By the way, that's an intense diet.
Bien, de reforma, por favor, Melissa Amaiswan.
Over here. Hi. Before the US premiere, the studio chose to keep images of the movie in secret. Why did they choose that, considering you have 50 million followers on social networks?
It's a good question. You know, what happens with studios is they want to keep their content as close to the sleep as possible before the movie comes out, and understandably so. I also knew that I had one of the greatest relationships I can ever have, and that's with the followers that I have. And it's a relationship that I look at that like I have a relationship with them. For people who follow me, by the way. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to not go against the studio, but I wanted to let them know ahead of time. What I want to do is I want to bring the 50 million plus followers along for the journey. I want to post pictures of myself getting ready, getting prepared, 4 hours of hair and makeup, shots of me on set. I wanted to do things like that to bring them along and make sure that they felt like they were getting something that they wouldn't otherwise get. The studio, MGM and Paramount, and all studios, by the way, they're always very selective and in the images that they put out. I've got a tremendous relationship with Paramount and MGM, Warner Brothers, Universal, New Line, every studio out there. So there's a great amount of trust that the studios have with me in terms of the content that I release. So I can't speak for other actors, but for me in the studios, we're pretty locked in tight with, there's a lot of trust with what I can release. And plus it's Brett's fault too, Mike. He didn't want to let any pictures out.
Studios do it really just for the control of putting out there what they want. The first image I think is very important, and he was teasing a lot of the stuff. He was never really showing the face with the beard. There was key stuff that he wasn't revealing, and then we wanted collectively as a team, meaning us and the studio, to figure out what are going to be the first images to see. It's a strategic thing, really.
And I think with every movie, it's a little different with what they want to release. But now looking back at the campaign that we did publicity campaign, the marketing campaign. I'm not quite too sure if I would have done anything different. I think I would have still would remain the same, and then I would have continued to post the pictures that I still posted.
Alejandro de protocolo, por favor. Norma Pérez. Norma Pérez del barrio 13 y 724.
Hola. Hola, ¿qué tal? Al principio que mencionaron acerca del reto de hacer un Hércules diferente, más alejado tal vez del Dios, de la idea que tenemos, más cercano al hombre que tiene una familia, quisiera preguntarle a Dwayne, ¿qué tan importante? Bueno, sé que para él es muy importante la familia y que muchos de sus proyectos los elige también pensando en esto, a lo mejor películas que puedan ver sus hijos, en algunas del pasado. Obviamente los hijos han crecido, ahora pueden ver Hércules, me imagino. Si eso tuvo alguna influencia, además de lo que ya ha comentado, en elegir esta película. Y para él mismo, una segunda pregunta, acerca de, bueno, ya que hablaban de sus escenas favoritas, si Hércules, para Dwayne Johnson, es también una liberación en su carrera profesional, tanto como actor cinematográfico, productor y más atrás como deportista, ¿no? Si hay un antes y un después de Dwayne Johnson a partir de Hércules.
Well, you know, I want to say that, you know, we went into this movie wanting again to deconstruct the mythology and make Hercules be about a man first, like being a man who had a family and is a family man, and family is important. Even though Hercules lost his family, he also had a family around him, and there was also another. It was also the spirit of there's no greatness and no success ever achieved alone. We do everything together. Everyone, at any level of success, you always have the people around you who help foster and support you. Family, if you will. So the element of family is always important to me in movies that I do, whether it's G.I. Joe or Fast and Furious or Hercules, where family is always becomes the root of the story. And in terms of Hercules being definitive for me as an actor and as a man, Hercules in many ways was definitive for me over the course of my career, and I know Brett felt the same way too. You know, Hercules, I've always said, came around to both of us at the perfect time. The perfect time in terms of the life that we've lived already, our age, and we were able to come and bring our own experiences, life experiences, not as young men in our early 20s, but as men who've lived lives. And I put my heart and soul into this role. I wanted to transform every day for 90 plus days, 4.5 hours of hair and makeup, the training, the diet, things like that. I don't regret one day of it. I would do it, if I could do it all again, I'd do it twice. I would do it with Brett, and I would do it with this story. So it has become a very definitive movie for me, because also too, it's Hercules. He was essentially the world's first superhero. The creator of Superman has always referenced Hercules as his inspiration to create Superman. Hercules is the world's first superhero, so you only get one shot at it. It's iconic. It's an iconic role, and it's become definitive for me as in my career.
And it's really a family film. And thank you for pointing that out, because this is a movie that everyone in Mexico can bring their entire family from maybe ages 12, Michael?
8 and up.
8. From ages 8 and up. Because if you really watch the film, and I have, little cousins and nephews, and they're 7, 8 years old, they love the movie because the violence is strong, but it's not graphic. It's not brutal. There's not blood flying everywhere. If you watch 300, which is a great movie, every shot is blood splurting everywhere. But that is specifically for adults. There's sex scenes. There's no sex scenes in this movie. There's no...
Only in my head.
there's no gratuitous sex. There's no gratuitous violence. You don't have heads chopping off and blood squirting. It's tough, strong stuff. I call it the Jackie Chan style of action because there's no blood. It's not brutal where it would scare a little 8-year-old kid. So that's the thing that we wanted to do. We wanted to do something strong, edgy, very cool, but we didn't want to alienate families. We wanted families to come in and see this movie and love the movie, and that's what our goal was. And I think we've accomplished that. So bring all your kids, please. They will love it.
Ana Lucía de Latinx, por favor.
Hola, amigos. Me gustaría saber un poco que hablar más bien de la relación que tienen con los otros actores, que no han hablado mucho de los otros personajes también. Y para Brett, también me gustaría saber qué retos implicó hacer esta película después de todas las que has dirigido y además de todas las que has producido, porque también estás como productor.
¿No tiene eso?
We wanted to surround Hércules with an incredible team. We also wanted the team of Hércules to be directly influenced by the real mythology. So all the characters surrounding Hércules are real characters from the Greek mythology. And we also felt that it was important, as I was saying earlier, was the version of Hércules that you never see is the version where there is Hércules, but he's only Hércules and is only the powerful Hércules because of the people around him. Help him succeed. Help him with the 12 labors. Help him in these incredible battle scenes. So we wanted to showcase that. And in terms of the other actors, we wanted to make sure that it felt like a truly international cast. We have incredible Norwegian actors, British actors, Swedish actors. I mean, it was, for me personally, we got a great friendship with all the actors. And, when you're in a movie like this that shoots for 4 or 5 months, and you're in Budapest, you're in the mountains of Budapest, and the only thing you have is each other, 14, 15 hours a day, with this incredibly talented director, who's also a maniac, by the way, who can get very tough. You bond with your other actors, so I enjoyed every minute.
We had such a great cast. It really felt like a family. It wasn't just Hércules and Dwayne alone standing up there. It was an ensemble. It was like the Magnificent Seven. It was like a gang it was a gang of mercenaries. It wasn't like it was a gang of mercenaries. And what I'm proud of is that each character had their own individuality and their own unique, not only visually, but their own weaponry. They each had their own skill set with their own type of weapons. And at the end of the movie, I think all the audience is satisfied because each character has resolved. Each character has an arc. And that's why all these actors love this movie, love being a part of it, and felt connected to something, and are all very proud of it. For me, it was a huge challenge. And if you look at my career, a lot of the guys who just do comedies, I did Rush Hour, as you know, those films, they get stuck doing those types of movies. I'm very lucky in my career because I was able to do movies in many different genres. When I did Red Dragon, the prequel to Silence of the Lambs, or I do a movie like Family Man. So for me, I always wanted to challenge myself, and to do a movie like this with horses, 100 horses and chariots and hundreds of soldiers and weapons, and I mean, it was the biggest undertaking of my entire career, my entire life. And like Dwayne said, there wasn't a day that I regret, or I didn't love every day of the experience of doing it, and I would do it again, of course, with this man. And we had a really hardest work ever, I know, for Dwayne, for myself, but we made it fun because we all had each other. So that was the great part. And I think you see it on the screen. You see that even in the battle scenes, these guys were enjoying. And you saw the thing that I couldn't create, what they had automatically, was camaraderie and chemistry. That's something that I can't do. I can't direct that. But he had a great rapport, even if it's with the older actors that were, maybe unhappy because it was 105 degrees and they were bitching and complaining at certain times. Each one had an incredible passion for their characters, and that's why it comes off like that on screen.
Bien, Angélica de Hora de Cine, por favor.
Hola, buenos días, de este lado. Hola. ¿Qué similitudes tienes con el personaje? Y aparte de la caracterización, ¿qué fue lo que más te incomodó? Tengo entendido de que está hecha la barba que usaste. Entonces, ¿qué fue lo que te incomodó de usar todo aparte de la preparación de 4 horas?
Well, I think in terms of the character and how I connected to the character, I think was just the idea of a character who had been down. He had gone through turmoil, and he had gone through some great pain in his life. And I was very fortunate. Now as I'm a little older, 29, I could look back at my life and be so appreciative of the times that I was down, that I had endured pain, or that whether it's family loss or whether it was depression or anything like that, that I was down. And then I found that now I can appreciate those times when I was down in my life, because it made every time I got back that much better, that much stronger. So that's what I was able to get with Hercules. That's how I was able to connect with our version of Hercules, who, when we meet him, he's gone through some pain because he lost his family, and his family was everything to him. So he's trying to live every day as best as he possibly can, as we all do, by the way. We all try to live the best life we possibly can. We get kicked, we get knocked down, we get our asses kicked, we get back up. In terms of what was the most uncomfortable for me, I think, the beard was, it wasn't just a lace beard. What we did, we went and we got the most incredible beard designers and wig designers in the world, a team of incredible Italian designers, all Oscar nominated, and it wasn't a lace beard. It was, what he would do, he would cut strips of yak hair, the animal, a yak.
They eat yak.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing. Delicious. I had it this morning. About yak hair, about an inch long and about quarter inch wide, and he would place that on my face piece by piece by piece, 4 hours every day. Then I find out, I said, his name was Matteo, and I said, Matteo, what kind of hair is this? He said, oh, it's from the yak. I said, oh, from the yak. I said, yes. I said, what part of the yak? He said, the balls. Oh, balls. Yes. Balls. So that is the commitment I have as an actor for you is to lay the yak ball hair on my face in a beard. But other than that, I had no complaints.
And Dwayne is being very humble because the truth is, on top of all of this that we explained to you, he came to the movie injured. He had a major injury and called me and said, I promise you I'm coming. This is it's not going to be easy, but I'm going to rehabilitate myself. His guts were coming out of his stomach because what happened exactly?
Well, before that, what happened was I was in a wrestling match at WWE WrestleMania. Very big match. I was WWE champion. Wrestled John Cena. 8 weeks before I was supposed to come to the set in Budapest. In the match, which lasted roughly 45 minutes, I tore 2 tendons from my pelvis. Tore them away. So I had no control of my leg. My leg was just I couldn't do anything. So then that caused weakening in my abdomen wall, which caused emergency surgery with 3 hernias. So that's when I called Brett. I said, we got a little problem. And I give you my word, I'm still going to make it on set. We're going to have to delay the movie by only 2 weeks. It cost the studio $1 million a week. They weren't happy. And then I called.
Shows you his commitment to a character who has to do battle scenes, that he was injured, but he committed every morning to work out, to rehabilitate, and we were very careful to not hurt himself. But it was, beyond superhuman what he was able to do with that type of injury. Amazing.
I was only going to tell the yak ball story, but I came to say the truth.
Hola, periodista de Javier Solórzano, del programa de Javier Solórzano, si nos dices tu nombre, por favor.
Hola, Mariel, ¿qué tal? Bienvenidos. Para Dwayne, si nos puedes hablar, por favor, de la preparación psicológica, intelectual que tuviste, si tuviste alguna dieta de 7 días, ¿cómo fue tu encuentro con mi niña? costo de la película.
In terms of, those are all wonderful questions, all wonderful. In terms of psychologically preparing for the character, there was a very intense diet which I was following for 6 months. The prep was very focused. It was a focused prep, mentally and physically. And I just wanted to come on set and I wanted to create a character that was going to be the defining version. So it was a very focused 6 months. What Brett was talking about, what threw me for a loop that I didn't anticipate was the tendons being torn from my pelvis and then the subsequent surgeries that I had to have starting on set. So then you take that focus and then this happens. So all the physical hard work that you've done to build your body to a certain physical peak, it goes away. In 3-4 days after surgery, your body is full of swelling. It was done. So then came an additional, like really super focused for an additional 4 weeks to try to prepare and come on set and look the part of Hércules. So that's why I say it was the greatest challenge that I've ever had as an actor, as an athlete, as a man in terms of a profession. It was very, very challenging. But we got through it and we made a good movie. Arena was fantastic. It was her first movie. She did a wonderful job. What's great about Arena is, as we all know, Arena, she's one of the most beautiful women in the world. And yet her sense of humor and her self-awareness makes her really even more beautiful. And so she was amazing to work with and very difficult to look at.
Arena came with such, there's many beautiful women in the world, but the combination of beauty with charisma and personality is why I chose her. And I'll just tell you, the first time I met her, which was maybe 2 or 3 years before Hércules, but she got in my head. And it was because I was at a party, and I was walking through the party, very crowded party, and I saw this beauty coming towards me. And of course, being who I am, as she got closer and closer, I started to open my mouth as if I wanted to say something. And she looks at me before my mouth could even utter a word. She said, "Don't even think about it." And she kept walking. And I said, "Wow, that's a girl that is in my head." Because I said, "How did you know maybe I was going to ask you what time it was?" No. She goes, "I met one of your girlfriends before. Keep walking." So that's why she stuck with me. And she came in and she auditioned and she was committed. And they had incredible chemistry. And you're going to love her in the movie because she's a sight for sore eyes. As far as also what Dwayne was saying before, which was his focus, not only because, imagine sitting there, can you imagine sitting for 4 hours and someone just picking at your face, over and over and putting the wig on and all the details and stuff. But then when he came to set, we had only a specific amount of hours because we had 4 hours in hair and makeup, so we had to it wasn't rushing, but it was we had to be methodical, like a machine, like a military operation. And that's what it was. It was like a military operation. And Dwayne was really the leader of his part of it, which is the actors. He came in and kind of set the tone because everyone is, having fun. We're on a big set. We're doing a movie. It's very hot. It's a very grueling process. But his focus was so stealth that it kind of inspired everybody else. And not only just on the day, but in his preparation. I watched every single actor, like this gentleman here, transform their bodies, one by one, including the girl in the movie, Ingrid Bolso-Cordal, transformed herself. She didn't have an stitch of muscle on her, and she literally transformed it, and it was because of his inspiration. That's why he was born to play Hércules, because he naturally is a superhuman person who is completely inspiring to everybody that becomes close.
Wait, I actually want to know what the budget was.
Oh, the budget. The budget, shockingly, okay? The budget was, I can tell you, at the end of the day, it was about between 100 and 110 million, which is an incredibly low number for a movie of this scope and this scale. If this movie would have been shot anywhere else in the world, it would have been over $200 million. But because we struggled and committed ourselves to going to Budapest, okay, which is a beautiful country, beautiful city. But we were there. I was there for 9 months. He was there for six months, and it was an incredible commitment. But because we were there and we used the local crews, the local cast, the local talent, we were able to make the movie for a price. And I think it was very smart of us, because Hollywood likes that. They like when guys like us who are, can cost a lot of money and have made X-Men cost $230 million, my movie. But in this day and age, with what's going on in the world, it's important to be fiscally responsible. And both of us decided, okay, because we can say, no, we're only making the movie if we get to do it in Miami, where we both love.
Or Mexico City.
That's the sequel, Mexico City.
Gracias. Bueno, el tiempo se nos está terminando y vamos a pasar a la última pregunta. Por favor, a Gustavo de Game Style.
Okay, no pressure this time. No pressure.
Well, I did my hair long because I want to be like Hércules, but I think
You're there. You're almost there. Okay. A couple more decades.
Thank you. La pregunta es básicamente, Dwayne, has sido Dios, semidios, has sido rápido, has sido furioso, has sido hada por accidente. ¿Qué te falta? ¿Qué es lo que quieres hacer? Has hecho grandes cosas. ¿Qué es lo que sigue? ¿Qué es lo que te gustaría hacer ahora? ¿Cuál es el siguiente paso actoral en cuestión de dirección, producción? ¿Qué es lo que te falta por hacer?
Well, right now, Guy, you hooked me. You've been fast, you've been furious, you've been fairy. I think what I'm going to do next, I'm going to do an action comedy, which I'm very excited about. I was just talking to Brett about that, and then follow it up with. I'm not quite too sure yet, but this is what happens in our business. You think you'd like to do something, you have all your ducks in a row, and then all of a sudden a project will come and read it. You go, I want to do this next. So I have a couple of options to do something next. But yes, you're right. I am fast. I am furious. That was it.
Dwayne's commitment, my belief, and I'll just talk more also about him, and then I'll tell you about me, but I think Dwayne's so committed to every character, even as a fairy. He was so committed to his characters that I don't think there's anything that this man cannot do. And I feel the same. I feel fearless in my commitment. I've never done, 50, 60 years ago, directors in Hollywood were under contract, and they would go from a comedy to a drama, to a western, to a musical. Their job was that they were paid to be a storyteller, and whatever story was put in front of them, they were paid. And actors too. Actors went from doing all different genres, and that's the one thing that Dwayne can do, and I feel like myself. We can do movies in any genre because of our commitment and our love and passion for the work. And so when you love something, and I think we're both very similar in the way that we make choices based on instinct. It's less cerebral, intellectual as far as strategic. We read something, we feel it, and we're like, I want to make this. So whatever plan you had, or whatever you thought you wanted to do, you read something that changes your feeling about it, but that's okay because we trust our own instincts, and we make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. But at the end of the day, you believe in yourself, right? And then you become the hero, just like Hércules. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.